Atheists cannot have objective morality.
I barely do it.
It simply isn't possible.
Now, I personally don't believe in objective moral truths, but to claim that objective morality is impossible under atheism is kind of odd to me, considering the fact that theism doesn't have an actual advantage for moral realism over atheism. I believe objective morality is just inherently incoherent. It is just completely irrelevant to us because it doesn't factor in any of our goals. I don't see how these objective moral truths have any normative authority.
But that's where you go wrong. If you begin your video with, now I personally don't believe in objective moral truths, which is a claim that you're going to play devil's advocate for, in response to the claim, it is impossible for atheists to have objective morality, then we're already off to a great start. Also, if objective morality is irrelevant, then you don't have any good reason to contest any of his claims. So what are you talking about? Don't you just agree with him?
Imagine that there are two people. One person thinks that unaliving someone is a really bad thing to do, but the other person thinks that unaliving that person is a really good thing to do. How do those people between themselves figure out which one is correct?
Well, depending on how you define morality, one could deduce an objectively true moral conclusion through reason itself, but even if I grant you your argument here and say that we are incapable of coming to a genuine understanding of which moral conclusion is actually true, that doesn't mean that an objective moral fact doesn't exist at all.
If you can deduce an objectively true moral conclusion through reason itself, then why didn't you answer the question? Since we are incapable of coming to a genuine understanding of which moral conclusion is true, we have good reason to believe that objective morality absent God doesn't exist, not necessarily proof. In order to successfully suggest otherwise, you need to give a better reason to assert objective moral truths could exist besides, nuh-uh, just because I can't see it doesn't mean it's not there. Absolute chud response, respectfully.
Many people will try and say, well, hurting someone is wrong, so therefore taking their life is wrong. But who told you that hurting someone was wrong? What if we disagree about that?
This unjustifiably assumes that there needs to be a who to tell us what's right and wrong, and also disagreement doesn't mean that an objective moral fact doesn't exist.
The who isn't even the important part. If harming someone is wrong, there needs to be reasoning which you fail to provide and ultimately prove his point.
Some people will try to pinpoint objective morality in societal standards. They'll say that if a society agrees that something is bad, then it is objectively bad. But that also fails because 200 years ago, society agreed that slavery was a good thing. But obviously, slavery is not a good thing.
I disagree with their reasoning here, but I also believe the argument is incoherent because objective means mind independent. So if it's based on society, it's by definition not objective.
Nice job missing the point again, because that's exactly what he's trying to say. Also, you incorrectly defined objective to mean mind independent, when it really just means dealing with facts and reality rather than personal feelings, thoughts, or biases. Even the philosophical definition leaves room for a moral standard or dictator like God, which I will explain.
However, religion offers a unique perspective on this. If you believe that there is a higher power that can hand down morality to people, you then have something to actually base your morality in.
You don't need a higher power to have something to base your morality in, and if you do base your morality on a higher power, that doesn't necessitate that your morality is objective.
Because for the sake of argument, you're granting that existence of an all-loving, all-powerful God to make an internal critique. We've already covered how without an objective standard, all morality is subjective. But if the standard is the God whose very existence defines what should be possible and logical, then it is real and unquestionably just as objective as the God.
Remember the first example of two people on an island? Well, imagine if God stepped in and gave them a rulebook as to what was good and what was bad. There wouldn't really be a disagreement anymore.
There could definitely still be disagreement because why would this rulebook that God gave have any normative authority? You still have to justify that.
By having a higher power giving you morality, you can therefore ground your morals in something that is real and concrete, not just your personal feelings.
You can ground morality in other things outside of God and personal feelings, but personal feelings are also real and concrete, so this doesn't make any sense regardless.
Do I even have to show why this is boneheaded logic?
Everybody agrees on morality. We have Christians who disagree with each other, but it does mean that the individual, such as myself, can have real assurance as to what their morality is. Mine is based in God, and therefore I can trust it.
No, having objective morality means that your morality exists completely independent of a mind. So if your morality still relies on God, then it isn't objective, which is why I say that theism doesn't have an advantage for moral realism over atheism. So just grounding your morality in God, again, doesn't mean that your morality is objective.
What you have here is a faulty definition of objective that fails to account for epistemological solipsism, which puts forth that there is no way to know what is and what isn't objective if your definition is mind independent. Under this definition, nothing is objective because you cannot use anything other than your phaneron or mind to prove anything.
The problem of morality doesn't prove that God exists, but it does shed light as to some of the problems found within atheism itself.
In conclusion, I think the real problem is you not actually engaging with what objective morality actually is.
Oh yes, of course. He's the one not engaging correctly.